Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to show you the ideal 4K settings for the RTX 2070 in ATS2. So first things first, you got to make sure to enforce anti-aliasing externally via NPI, which I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So you got to go on GitHub, download NPI, which is the Profile Inspector. You'll load up the ETS2 profile, works for American Truck as well. So this video also applies to American Truck, same settings basically. Everything we're gonna do here you can do with American Truck as well, and it's gonna work the same way and provide the same visual results. So it's important that you enforce mode override any application setting, anti-aliasing on setting 32 times CSAA, and on transparency supersampling 8 times supersampling, hit apply changes, and that's all you're gonna do here. So now we gotta go on to fixing the shadows because they're kind of cursed in 4K. They look very blurry and ugly and not very PogChamp at all. So you gotta go on your ETS2 folder, which is usually within documents, my documents, Euro Truck Simulator, to config CFG. Mine is moved because of reasons, because of storage issues mainly, because my C drive's kind of small. So I moved it over to D, but that doesn't matter. So documents, Euro Truck Sim, usually config CFG, and you look up this line, sun shadow texture size. You change that from the stock, which is 4 something. I think, well, it's gonna be 4,000 whatever, and then you change it to 8192 and you hit save. That's gonna make the shadow bigger. It does a little more less actually aliased basically, so it's gonna look very crisp and nice, just the way one would prefer, honestly. So now you can launch the game, and that's where I'm gonna show you the other settings that I actually gotta do to obtain optimal quality. This is, just ignore that. It's because I use Trucksbook for tracking my trips and stuff, but that probably won't show if you don't have that, as you can tell. So already in 4K, now we just gotta go over to the settings and explain a few of the compromises that were made, mainly on scaling. So here on graphics, you can see that we have 100% scaling, no more, no less than that. 125 will and does stuttering, so we cannot go anything above that. 100%, no anti-aliasing here. It's enforced externally as we've done before via NPI. And then screen space, SSAO on high, and everything else on high, with the only exception being the mirror. So mirror quality is on medium and distance is on medium. And why is that? Because sometimes under dense environments, like crowded environments like cities, you would naturally have drops if the mirrors are anything different than that. So on high, which would be the ultra for this case scenario here. So change that back to medium, and then you will have solid 60 across the board. I've been trying this setting for days now basically, and I didn't have any major drops. I did have drops, I won't lie, but nothing game breaking, like 59, 58. Very rare times when there's a lot of traffic and it's nighttime, there's a lot of lights bouncing everywhere, then the performance does dip a little bit, but it's nothing major. So you don't have to worry much about that. So settings wise, that's about it. Scaling 100%, no anti-aliasing within the game itself, and also mirrors on medium. That's all you gotta change. So now I'm going to take a short trip so that you guys can see that it's actually running okay. Worth noting that I'm using OBS for recording at 60 FPS, so it might hit performance. It will probably hit performance. So the figures will differ from the actual figures when I'm gaming without recording. OBS does tank performance. If you ever recorded Euro Truck Sim, you know what I'm talking about. It does hit performance. Usually, preferably, you would be looking at Shadowplay for this kind of recording, but my microphone doesn't work well enough in Shadowplay, so I had to use OBS, which is kind of sad, but it gets a point across, I guess. Well, let's take See, maybe there's a World of Trucks job that we can take. I want something really short route here. Scandinavia. Oh, there's one to St. Peter. That's a great one, huh? 507. Okay, that's doable. I'm not gonna do the whole trip, obviously, because that would be half an hour worth of a video. And we don't have all that time, so I'm just gonna do it partially, let's say, until we got to Estonia, and then I save the game and call it a day. I think that's fair, because, well, it's 517 km, so, you know, that's safely half an hour worth of video, and no one's got that time. So we just gotta prove a point. We're gonna drive from the old DLC area, which is Scandinavia. It's 20, I think it's second DLC, right? 2015. So it's not that demanding, honestly. And then we're gonna walk right in one of the latest ones. I think it's 2019, right? The one with Finland and Latvia and Lithuania and stuff. I do think that's the case. I'm not really sure, actually. But yeah, let's get going. So far, the frames are actually surprisingly good, considering I'm recording. But that might differ at some point. Let's hit... let's go. Alright. I think, although not sure, we are already at the spot. Or so it seems. Where's it? Where's it? More food. No, that's not the spot, is it? Oh, right. So, no. We're not. 8 km. I didn't check that. So, we gotta maneuver casually. Okay. So far, so good. We're hitting 86%. That's a little bit more than the usual. As you can see, the shadows are very crisp thanks to the new settings. Like, very, very crisp compared to what they were on by default. I mean, like, take a look at that. That's actually not too bad, honestly, considering it's just 100% scaling for 4K, which actually runs better than, let's say, 400% scaling at 1080p. That would be pretty much 4K as well, but it's a lot more demanding somehow. I mean, it does make sense because you gotta use anti-aliasing 1080p. There's no way you could get over without anti-aliasing, because 1080p is highly cursed and highly anti-aliasing dependent, which is not a case of 4K, which is why I prefer running 4K rather than my real res, which is 1080p. So I run the SR 4K and it looks great, and it doesn't tax the card as much for the same or even better visual quality at times. Okay, so apparently OBS can behave very well with recording as long as you make a compromise, changing from quality to performance on the advanced settings, and that does seem to work wonders. Look at that, we're stuck at 60. Could that mean 4K gameplays? Who knows? Could that mean that I'll finally start uploading frequent 4K content? Perhaps. Because I have a few maps that I want to try, like Real Scale, that I downloaded, and I really fell in love with the map, and I really feel like, you know, actually showing that to you guys and expressing my thoughts on it, what I think is okay about it, what it's not quite okay, why you should have 1:1 scale maps. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's get this thing loaded and head over to Russia. Babushka awaits. Well, that's not too bad for 2015, is it? Not really. Look at that. It's quite nice. I forgot how nice this area looks, honestly, compared to like the new ones. I mean, the new ones are obviously much better, but it's not as much of a gap. Like if you compare it to, let's say, Going East. Like Going East is so out of date now. It's so weird when you gotta drive to the new DLC area and gotta go, not the new anymore, the ex-new DLC, let's say that. Like before Iberia, which is the one with Romania and stuff and Turkey. It's okay. Like, but when you're like in Germany and you gotta drive there, you gotta go to like Hungary and Poland, Czech Republic, which don't look up to pair, honestly, with the no stuff. But yeah, so far 60 FPS across the board. Huh, that's surprising, considering I'm recording, honestly. Because without recording, that's solid. Oh yeah, there we go, there's the drop. That's the drop I was waiting for. I mean, I wasn't waiting for, but that's the drop I sort of expected. Because, then again, we're kind of asking too much while playing and also recording. See, 92% there. It's a little too much. 4K 60 recording and gameplay for the 2070, perhaps a lot. But if you're just playing, I swear to God, that's solid 60. It doesn't drop, it doesn't dip. It's a very nice experience. Highly recommended. Like, you're actually missing out because the game in 4K, like, it becomes something else. Like, it's honestly a brand new experience. I can never play Euro Truck Sim below that anymore. I had issues with 4K before, so I was like, nah, forget about it. But then I thought, well, why not enforce the anti-aliasing elsewhere? Because like without any anti-aliasing, it just looks a little weird. It's like aliasing is not very noticeable in 4K, of course, but like the shadows were jagged and stuff, and some buildings were also jagged from afar, and trucks, and it wasn't just a very clear image overall. And then by enforcing the anti-aliasing, is certainly somehow it does seem to perform better than the built-in anti-aliasing anyway. So you have a very clear image, and it doesn't take much of a penalty, because it can get like a very clear image with the game's built-in anti-aliasing. I'm not saying that it's bad or anything, but it does take more resources to get to the same visual quality. So to achieve that same visual, it needs more horsepower, basically. So like, what is the point? You know, why am I gonna sacrifice my frames if I can just use an external way to do the same thing and get the same visual quality, which is very consistent. I mean, you can tell the performance is solid. It did drop that time, but that's because I'm recording. It doesn't drop without recording. I promise. You're gonna try it yourself and you're gonna see for yourself as well that it doesn't drop if you're not recording. Same way as my Quad HD setting that I made on a previous video, which is very efficient, but I wanted more. I wanted clear screenshots and stuff, so I went over to 4K. And at first I thought, well, this is not gonna work. 4K is too much. I'm asking too much. But it worked. It somehow worked. I've been testing this setting in Euro Truck and American Truck. I chose Euro Truck for the video because, of course, it's the most popular one, so it draws a lot more audience, and it's not like American Truck players don't play Euro Truck as well, so, you know, they're gonna watch this video eventually as well, so it doesn't really matter. Of course, I'm gonna reinforce in the title that it does work for American Truck as well. It's a setting that's universal, basically. And I gotta say, I've been testing them more in American Truck, actually, rather than Euro Truck Sim, because I fell in love with the truck mod, the K100 by Overfloater. It's an amazing truck. I'm having a lot of fun with that manual transmission stuff. It's so much fun to drive. I really want to make a video on that, but then again, I was, you know, playing in 4K, so I was like, recording is gonna be like dipping all the time. People are gonna be like, bruh, come on. Don't, that's torture. It's like performance is all over the place. But hey, turns out with this new OBS setting, I can actually record 4K. It's not very, very solid 60. Look at that, 97% load at times. So we are putting it quite a strain, but it doesn't mean it's impossible by any means. No. So hey, here's to future 4K gameplays. Now, the real proof of fire here is once we get to the new DLC, not new, I mean, more recent DLC area, which, you know, has like new assets and stuff, a lot more trees and stuff, which does ask a lot more from the machine. So that's when we're gonna finally be able to see whether it does hold up for recording as well. For gameplay, it does hold up. I've tested before. Like, I've been testing this the whole week. Actually, more than a week, actually. Like, let's say a week and a half of testing. Like, not daily, but quite often. And I can tell it is rock solid. It's amazing. I was afraid that 4K wouldn't be possible anymore when on 1.40 because, oh my god, yeah. Recording and trees doesn't go along very well, but I assure you, if I was not recording right now, frames would be at 60, solid at 60. But yeah, either way, visually, it's definitely better than 1080p 400%, out of question. Performance better as well somehow. I mean, obviously, there's a price you pay for that. You know, 4K, recording 4K is a little bit, so if you are into like making truck sim videos and stuff, that might be a little too hard to actually do. But perhaps if you drop the enforced anti-aliasing, or if you drop like the mirrors even more, because the mirror res was high, I could lower that res and then gain a little bit more stability. That all comes down to how you set the thing up. Like, honestly, it comes down to setup. No more, no less than that. So it really depends on how you approach it. If you really want to record at 4K, a few more compromises on quality, perhaps grass density as well. If you could like lower that a little bit, there you go, you have solid 60 again. Because grass is something that does take a lot of frames, but it also does add up a lot to the overall quality. I mean, there's no there's no way around it. It's just amazing. Mainly the new areas, of course, like the old base game map. The old grass doesn't look that amazing. It doesn't scale up very well to high res. Like, it looks okay 1080p, but once you go to 4K, you can really tell the flaws. You know, the default, the old road texture, the old grass, the old prefabs, they look very dated, and you can clearly tell they're from ages ago. But here, it's all fine. Like, the models, they're all like 4K ready, one could say. Well, we're almost there. So take the ferry, cross the border, and then that's where we are gonna see perhaps a major dip or maybe a major improvement. Who knows? Oh, I had a kind of weird thing on 1.40 is that you cannot tell if the lights are on if it's not nighttime because it doesn't really show. I'm not sure if that's how it is in real life, honestly, because I recall being able to see my lights. It's just a tad bit, but here you see absolutely nothing. But then again, not like it matters much anyway. It's daytime, so whatever. But it would be handy to know if the lights are on or not, because some trucks show that the low lights are on, but some don't. This one doesn't. Only if the high beams are on. So we're going to where am I? Oh yeah, it has to be this one because St. Petersburg is over here. So if I go to Finland, that would be a far longer trip. And if I go through here, it's substantially shorter. So that's the one we're taking. Chupodiski or whatever you call it. Estonia. Let's go, boys. And here we go. Now it's where the frames either go nuts or they behave. So we're gonna see. Well, 60. 5 a.m. Oh, that's great. I thought perhaps we would load in at nighttime, which would be awful for recording. It can. Like 4K with this settings at night, it just runs fine. It's not a problem. But it's for recording, I wouldn't be so sure because night's definitely more demanding, and we had drops at daytime even. So if daytime's already a challenge, let alone nighttime. You know, with all the light sources and stuff, mainly in those cities that are very, you know, rich in lights and stuff, and you know how it is. But so far so good, honestly. Very happy with that. Need to find a place to refuel though. We got just 398 km. That's fine. Perhaps we could do the entire trip The video would take like a week to actually get to true 4K though, I assume. Like I'm 98% sure that this video is gonna take at the very least like 2 days. If I do the entire trip, that would take like 2 days to get the whole, you know, 4K 60 available. It's gonna sit at 1080 60 and people are gonna be like, oh, you're bullshitting me, this is a 1080p video, you're full of shit, bro. But nah, that's just how YouTube is. It doesn't like me. YouTube hates me, actually. Like, I made a 4K benchmark once. It was a 10-minute video. And it sat in 1080p for over 4 days. People were thinking I was bullshitting them. Because even though it showed like 4K and stuff, because you can, you know, there's a way. Like if you enable the DSR and you close the game, like you change it to 4K, you close the game. Once you open it back up, it's gonna be 1080p again, because the game will always be at the startup. Of course, it's always gonna be at your monitor res, not the DSR one, not the fake one. It's always the true monitor res. So you will open it at 1080p, and it's gonna be saying it's 4K, but it's 1080p. I can go like 400% scaling and shit. And, hey, look, guys, it's 4K. It says there, it's 4K. You can trust me. It's 100% 4K. So people were thinking I was doing that, like bullshitting them with that setting. Oh my god, yeah, things are getting slightly more complicated here. I'm not gonna lie. You can really tell that it's struggling to keep up with the 60 FPS recording. Bear in mind though, that extra load there, take like 5% less load, so it wouldn't be dipping anyway, because now it's 95%, so once it goes higher than that, it does drop below 60, but that's when recording, because without recording you can safely take like 5% off that count, maybe more. So y'all, boils down to whether you really want to record gameplay in 4K. If you just want to play to take cool screenshots, this setting works wonders. Then again, like I said, mirror res would already work wonders, and you know, loosen up some of the load so that you could record at 60 safely, no problem. We're gonna refuel because I'm not sure if I have enough to make the trip. I'm gonna divert just quite a little bit. Oh my god, 47 FPS. Recording in 4K is so painful. My god. I really wish though, perhaps if I lower it even more to like Minecraft quality, Minecraft recording quality, perhaps I could actually record 4K 60 no problem. But as it currently stands, oh my god. Pain. Like real pain. Let's go. Take the slide that baby in, fill her up, and then continue with our adventure. Let's go. Let's turn this off, and off we go. Oh, this mod is great, huh? We're just refueling, guys. Steam move up, cause why not, right? Just briefly, gotta pull it up for no reason whatsoever other than looking cool. It's a great mod though. It does replace the board computer with a more realistic one that resembles the real counterpart a lot more. But no, it's just like, it's just a visual thing, honestly. It's not much of a change. It's just a novelty, honestly. I like it though. I mean, it's closer to the real truck, so there's more appeal to it than just stock. Oh boy. Actually, now that I think about it, this trip's gonna take far too long if I do the whole thing. I'm just gonna drive a little bit more and then stop somewhere and stop the video, because god, that would take 10 years to upload as well, because I'm recording at 10 megabytes a second, so you can tell like this is gonna get massive. I'm talking like 20 gigabytes big or more. And that would take, at the very least, like half an hour to upload, maybe more. Nah, bruh. I'm gonna end it here. I'm gonna end it like real soon. Just gotta see a little bit more how it looks, you know, different areas that you guys can see how the anti-aliasing behaves on trees, on prefabs, on different prefabs. That's why I chose this area, because it transitioned from old DLC area, old design, not so demanding, to new areas. Not very new anymore, but you get what I mean. You know, new prefabs, a lot more demanding, a lot more grass, a lot more dense, with a lot more objects as well. So it's a whole new game in the sense that it does demand more from the machine. We didn't have the same amount of drops before while driving around Sweden. Now we are, you know, struggling quite a little bit. Look, 30 FPS because the cart cannot cope up with recording and driving near this bunch of trees. But this does not happen without recording. I'm gonna reinforce that once again so that there's no misunderstanding on that aspect. This is because I'm using OBS at 60 FPS, 4K, 10 megabytes a second. This is not child's play. This is hard. This is demanding. There's a reason why most content creators don't record 4K 60. One of them being the size constraints, obviously, because it's a lot harder to, you know, record 4K. Performance-wise, size-wise, edit-wise, because, you know, you gotta render this thing if you edit the video. I don't personally edit anything, but most YouTubers do. And how long would that take, you know, rendering a long-ass 4K video? That's not something easy to do, no. Even with Horizon, like I tried to do a 4K voiceover once. It took a lot. It was a short video. It was like, I don't know, 15-minute content, and it took an age to render. And my CPU was 100% screaming all along. Like, this is not nice. Imagine if you do an average of like a video a day, or I don't know, a video a week even, and it takes that long to render. Like, every time, your CPU is not gonna live much longer. Honestly, like putting all that work, full load, high temperatures if you don't have proper cooling. It's not fun, right? I swear to God. So most people go for Quad HD. It's not like it's not like the average guy that watches YouTube has a 4K panel in either way. So I would say 1080p is the sweet spot for content creation, and Quad HD obviously, which is a good middle ground. Doesn't look too weird on higher res panels, and it doesn't demand that much as well. It's similar to 1080p render time wise and file size wise, because you could go with like 9 megabytes a second, 8 megabytes a second, even call it a day for 60 FPS footage. So yeah, I think that's enough. That's more than enough benchmarking. Give guys seen what it has to offer. Oh my God, it's even struggling to keep up. But yeah, I'm gonna end it around here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. You guys have a great one, and bye bye. Oh, by the way, feedback's appreciated. If you have any questions, any input on the video itself, comment sections right down below. It's honestly much appreciated. So see you guys next one. Bye bye. And let me just make sure that